Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here, to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it.
I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it.
Do it.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it.
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentary.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that, Danhausen. Love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now.
You're welcome.
Happy weekend once again, everyone. What's going on, y'all? It is Good Mic Work Commentaries back at you with your December 19th, 2020 edition of the Winged Eagle podcast. I kind of waved to y'all at the beginning. I went live before I was ready. I started looking at the screen here, and then it looked like I was just on. I was just about to mute the mic. I'm like, can you guys hear me if I mute the mic? So I gave you guys a little wave. I don't know what the hell happened before I went into the countdown, but I still had to lock the cats up and close my door and stuff, so I wasn't even ready to go live yet. So that was kind of funny. I guess it's just kind of different now. But anyway, we're here and we kind of have a different type of episode to get into than most weeks. We're not going to have your typical Winged Eagle podcast where I run through the entire week's worth of wrestling results and all of that. This is going to be concentrated into 2 big topics here. Number 1, we're going to talk about WWE's big ratings decline, ideas on how to fix it, probably a fair amount of ranting and, just voicing frustration over WWE's this ridiculous shit that's been going on now for the past couple of years since they've came out on TV and said, oh, we're going to change everything. Now they've hit another all-time low this past Monday, and things are kind of a mess right now in WWE land. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. And, we'll touch on SmackDown a little bit from last night, and then we'll predict TLC as we wrap up the show here, because last Monday night's Raw, I was up here for Monday for a review. It was crap. Even the Wednesday night shows were just mediocre. We'll touch on them, but we're not going to go in detail. And I figured we'd stay mostly away from wrestling results other than just talking about the main points, the TLC stuff, the New Year's Evil stuff, the AEW Holiday Bash stuff, shit like that. We'll touch on and we'll at least mention, but for the most part, we're going to focus mostly on the ratings, WWE's problems, and try our best to predict tomorrow's pay-per-view. So that's what's in store for today. First of all, I want to thank everyone who joined in last night. Really fun Friday night holiday stream we did where I came up here and I drank some of Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA, and we opened up a box of 30-year-old WCW trading cards. It was a hoot. Hung out for about 2.5 hours. The stream is up on my channel if you want to check it out. And those of you who are here, we had a pretty good time. So I want to thank everybody who hung out last night for a fun Friday night. Of course, we're up here right now. We're in the middle of we're on day 2 of 4 straight streams. We'll be up tomorrow, immediately following TLC for a full show review, and we'll be up on Monday too for Raw. Raw, I suppose, has potential, number 1, because it's a fallout from a pay-per-view, and also WWE might be making some knee-jerk reactions in response to these very low ratings, and you know how they kind of panic and they just kind of do shit. And we're going to be getting into a lot of that here as we talk about the ratings. So maybe Monday has potential for WWE just to do something to spark a rating, maybe have something big happen tomorrow at the pay-per-view, or maybe a big return, or I don't know, even a title change, something like that. We'll see if they have anything up their sleeves, but hopefully this Monday will be a little bit better than most, because it's rough getting through that. In terms of what's left in the year after Monday night, you won't hear from me again until Saturday after Christmas. So I won't be up here the 23rd or the 24th or anything like that. I'll be up here 1 week from today, but not for a Winged Eagle podcast. I think next week, again, with the Christmas, we're going to be up here Monday reviewing Raw anyway. And I think the Christmas shows on Wednesday and the day after Christmas show on Friday. Or no, Christmas is Friday, or the SmackDown Christmas. I don't think anything crazy is going to be happening on these shows. So instead of coming up here and doing a full Winged Eagle podcast next Saturday, I'm going to do a live stream, a Patreon-sponsored live stream, talking about our my top 10 favorite tag teams of all time. We'll do that a little bit later in the evening, probably 6 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And we'll hang out next Saturday night and do like a Saturday night stream. So that's the plan. 1 week from this Monday, the 28th, that's going to be our year-end Q&A. Shoot your questions over to goodmikework@gmail.com. Got a lot of questions already. I'll be happy to accept a few more. We'll review Raw after the show on the 28th, and then we'll go right into the big Q&A. It'll probably be a grand total of close to 4 hours of streaming, and it should be a lot of fun for the end of the year video. So if you want to send in your questions, send them to my email. Otherwise, just join us live in the chat. I'll answer every single super chat. We'll be talking to everybody in the chat, and we'll just be having a fun, nice, long hangout, chatting wrestling, answering questions, and try to send off this shitty year of 2020 as best we can, and start fresh in 2021. So that's what's on tap for the next couple of weeks. Just wanted to hit you guys with that at first. I haven't even done a sound check yet. All right, I sound good. New microphone, by the way, that I upgraded to, that I really, really like and is super easy to use. Shure M7 came highly recommended, great reviews. It's kind of new. A lot of people have been waiting for it, so I said, fuck it. I bought it, and I love it so far. So hopefully the audio sounds a little bit crisper for you guys. Good to see you in here, Barry, Red Raven Rucker, Nikolai, Jet the Hawk, Lion, Jamarius. Ben is here. Good to see you, man. The new one, Life of Brandon, Martin Can, Ungovernable Sonic, Jet, Deshaun, Ratnick, Adam, DeSavian, Holiday, Christopher Mace, and George Morris, of course, is here too. Thanks for the $5, dude. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Lucky to be here after one of my cats threw up on my keyboard and mouse. I had to buy a new one for $20 at Walmart. Be safe. You always have the craziest stories. That sounds like something that would happen to me, because my cats do tend to puke sometimes, but they've never thrown up on my shit. Yeah, if they did, you can't order that on Amazon because you need it. You need it right away. So yeah, you probably have to go to the store and buy it. That sucks. And it's not something you want to try to salvage either. Oh shit, because if you spill a soda on it, you could maybe save your keyboard. You ain't saving it if a cat pukes on it. It's got to go in the trash. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad your fingers are working, man, and I appreciate you being here. Let's do a quick shout-out to our patrons, all of our current sponsors as well. Always want to show you guys some love every week because you really help keep the channel moving. So, J Smooth 1999, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dog's Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, Antoine Daniels, who has got a sponsored video coming up in the month of January on the SmackDown from 2003 with the Iron Man match with Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. That's going to be fun. John Redifer, Claudio Klabadetster, Jordan Karg, Daniel Rodriguez, Reese Jones, Barry MK, Josiah Blevins, Mr. Steve, Scott Moss, Domanian, Ewell, John Riffle, Michael Kumo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Nathan Walker, Blake Moran. Appreciate it as always, guys. Thanks for being here, and if you are here, and we'll do our best to make this not too crazy of an episode, because if there's one thing I hate is the crazy, psychotic, screaming, yelling, stark raving mad YouTubers. I don't want to be those people, but man, I'll tell you what, sometimes they got a point. Jesus Christ. WWE is a mess right now. Probably the biggest news of the week. We didn't know this on Monday, of course, when we were doing the Raw stream. We talked about the mediocrity of Raw. We've talked about how go-home shows are not what they used to be. We even mentioned that a little bit last night, because a lot of people had good things to say about SmackDown last night, but if you take away that Roman Reigns stuff, it's the same exact fucking show as Monday Night Raw. Reigns is doing great. Him and Owens are great opponents. They're going to have a great match, just like Drew and AJ will. But I think Owens and Roman are just doing really good work right now. The whole Roman situation, his character, how good he is at playing that role. It's the best angle, the best storyline, and pretty much the hottest thing WWE has going right now at the time. So SmackDown is kind of like staying afloat ratings-wise, and at least fan interest-wise, I think based mostly on that. But if it weren't for that, a lot of just the booking philosophies and this rinse and repeat nonsense and how you get from one match to the next, it's all done the same on SmackDown as it is on Raw. And I don't think either one of these shows are really that much different. You've just got a guy that's hitting such a home run right now in Roman Reigns that I think it's helping out SmackDown. But overall, last night's show, I think 25 years ago, how exciting go-home shows were. I don't even give a shit about them now. I don't even notice them. Half the time, I don't even know it's a go-home show, or I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, the pay-per-view's this weekend. That's the way we think now, and it used to not be like that. So with everything going on, I just think that WWE is going to have to make some changes, but we've heard this again before as well. We've heard WWE, we've seen them get spooked by ratings before. We've seen them make some changes or vow to make changes, and then they don't do anything at all. And we all remember what happened nearly 2 years. I don't know when that was. I'm pretty sure it was December of 2018, probably right around like 2 years to the day. When the McMahons, Triple H, and Stephanie and Vince and everybody were out there vowing to make things different, vowing to listen to the fans. Give me a fucking break. Their answer to the problems back then was for the McMahons to run all of the shows, and to they did the burial of Baron Corbin, where they thought, oh, let's just, because he's so hated, let's just bury him on TV. The fans will love us, and then things will go right back to normal. And they not only went right back to normal, they got worse. So WWE never follows through with their promises, and whatever kind of reaction they have to this, they should just shut their mouth and just react and change things behind the scenes. And you don't have to come out and cut a promo. You don't have to come out and promise us anything, because you're going to fail at your promise. So just do your best to make your shit better. And we're going to go through a lot of possible ways to do that here. So anyway, we should start, though, with the big record low rating that they set on Monday night, which, again, like I said, was just a kind of a lackluster, boring show. We knew we weren't going to see anything that spectacular heading into TLC. They were just going to do lay the final groundwork and do the final segments and promos for the matches. That's it. And that's pretty much exactly what we got. Interest is just not there. Fan interest and enthusiasm is just not there. That's one of the main comments I see in the Raw chats. Back in the day, we used to get huge ratings for the Raw reviews on this channel. Even that is down right now, because people are down dramatically because people just aren't watching. But one of the most common remarks I get in the chat from some people is that it's a good thing you're watching Raw, because I only tune in to watch your recap of it. I don't watch Raw at all. I just watch YouTubers. And there's a lot of people that do that. And I get that comment lots of times every single week. You guys see it. Man, it's a good thing you're watching this shit, good mic work, and I can just tune into you. That way I don't have to sit through this chore, of watching 3 hours of nonsense. Plus, when you pack it full of so many replays, you got shit on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You got a YouTube channel where you play segments and show results to pretty much every single match you have on your shows. That not only is a big contributor to the ratings decline, but it's another reason why fans probably don't feel like they have to watch all the time. You can still keep up. 30 years ago, you could keep up too, because it moved really slow, but there was no way to kind of catch a recap or catch a replay of a show. Or if you missed Superstars, if you didn't put a tape in the VCR, then you weren't going to see it again. There was nowhere to see it. So, now you can watch it on demand. You can DVR it. You can watch the Cliff Notes version. You can read the results on wrestling websites. You can go to YouTube and watch people like me. You can do all that shit if you want to follow along without having to sit through 3 hours of shit. So I know that ratings are a big deal, because the networks at some point might say, hey, we're going to have to make some changes here if you guys can't deliver us a better product. I think where, bottom line and profits are probably the most important to the company now. Ratings still matter, because these TV and these cable networks and stuff, they're the ones paying, for 90% of the income coming into WWE. So they have to do better, but at the same time, just the way everything is, I don't think the ratings are quite as important as they were in 1997, where you just lived and died by the ratings. You clearly don't do that now, but some of these numbers are scary. 1.53 is what they drew on Monday night. And the scariest part about that rating is they scored low. It was the lowest rating of all time on Monday Night Raw. Nikolai Volkov and 1-2-3 Kid main evented a Raw one time. Just saying. They also were defeated by AEW in that very coveted 18-49 demo. They actually lost all 3 hours to AEW Dynamite. So obviously people have probably taken notice backstage, but that's a ridiculously low rating. So regardless of all these things or not, regardless of what year it is or how many different ways you have to watch TV now, these are some extremely slow or low, scary numbers for WWE that it feels like they're almost going to have no choice but to react to. But every time we've seen this before, the reaction doesn't last. They do a couple of things to spark a rating. They try to, I think a couple of years ago, didn't they just bring up a bunch of NXT talent? Their solutions for these problems are terrible. So on one hand, as a fan, you can say, oh, good, the ratings are down. This should light a fire under WWE's ass. Or it could just motivate them to make more stupid fucking decisions and ruin more NXT careers. And that's a big possibility too. So I feel like we're just fucked every which way here as wrestling fans. I just don't trust WWE to basically do the right thing. So I think that's why we're going to freestyle a little bit here. We can just talk and discuss what are your ideas for some of the things they can do. I have a big idea that I put on Twitter a little while ago that I think at least in the short term could do a lot of good in terms of booking, because the biggest problem I think everybody has with WWE, it's creative and booking. It's not the matches, it's not the wrestlers. They've got an amazing group of talent there, guys and girls. It's almost insulting as a wrestling fan that a wrestling company can have this amount of talent and not know what the fuck to do with it. It's frustrating. So it's not that. It's basically just how they book. It's the pace of the business. Like I said, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of NXT. 50-50 booking didn't exist in the 90s because it didn't need to. There wasn't so much content and stuff, and little simple things like the basic simple premises of wrestling aren't done it this way anymore. UFC kind of does the same thing. So does boxing. You get two guys that start, gaining some momentum, and you just start stringing up wins for them, and you set them on a collision course, to collide. Now you don't do that in WWE. You don't sit there and say, oh man, it's going to be so cool when this guy finally faces this guy, because he probably already has, in some sort of random match that they just threw together on Raw or SmackDown or whatever. You don't see those two guys on, like similar paths or similar career paths like Brett and Shawn was or something like that, to where they're, inevitably going to collide. If anything, when that does happen, WWE rushes it. Maybe the closest thing they had to that this year would have been Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, even though they've wrestled before. They've even had WrestleMania matches before. Neither guy was who they used to be when they wrestled before. Roman's a completely new character, and Drew has finally gotten on the map as a main eventer after just basically just floundering mid-card for God knows how long. Beat Brock Lesnar, big wins, won the Royal Rumble, all that. You set these two guys on a dominant path for a year, even though they're on separate brands, you can have those two paths intersect at some point and it can be great. But instead, you got that stupid fucking Survivor Series pay-per-view on the calendar, which WWE in recent years has turned into Raw versus SmackDown, champion versus champion. And now you've booked yourself into a corner and forced yourself to go through with that match. And I thought WWE had second thoughts, which is why they put the title on Orton. And then they had second thoughts again, and they put the title back on Drew. It's just too much. They don't have any plan. You can't book long term. Everything is rewritten. I know COVID is a problem too, but even prior to COVID, they were having these problems. Vince McMahon throwing a fit, tearing up the script, rewriting shit during lunch, doing things and operating the same way WCW used to, and everybody in WWE used to make fun of them for that. Look at these idiots. They don't have their shit together. It's a mess. It's a clusterfuck. Nobody knows who's in charge. Everybody's running around. There's rewrites. You're told what to do. You go through rehearsals, hair and makeup, only to be told it's all going to be changed at the last minute. This is WCW Bush League shit that we're now seeing from this, company that's what is it, from a financial or a monetary standpoint or net worth standpoint, they got to be fucking 20 times larger than they were in the goddamn Attitude Era. So it blows my mind that they can't, with all of this money and this power and this infrastructure, that they can't get it right creatively and try to adapt to the pace of the business. Okay, like you can't book angles and storylines obviously the way you did in the 70s and 80s and 90s, because it ain't the 70s and 80s and 90s. But the way they're doing it now isn't better, and it's not fitting with this time period. Too much shit is the same, and it's all the fucking same. So we'll be talking about that here. Oh shit. As we go through. Domination Warrior, appreciate the $2. Sup, Gregorus, who was WWE's best writer? Too sweet. WWE's best writer, I don't know. I'd probably want to ask the wrestlers on that one, because there was a lot of guys that were liked, like Gewurz and stuff, but I don't know, like, who the best writer, overall writer was. I'd probably be leaving somebody out. I'd probably have a tendency to go old school on that for whatever reason. Hey, Chris, what's up, dude? Appreciate the $10. I agree, Greg. They need to get rid of these gimmick pay-per-views and actually do a gimmick match when a feud calls for it. Also, do you think USA will try to cancel their contract with WWE? Probably not. Things keep getting worse, then yeah. I mean, if this trend continues, then they're going to be in some serious trouble. Luckily, WWE has hopefully a little bit of loyalty on their side. You know, they got a 30-plus year relationship, 40, 35-year, something like that relationship with USA Network. I think USA would love to continue that relationship, provided WWE can just give them good programming. And I think, obviously, the reports are, the news reports, out this week were saying that they were a little bit upset. I don't know if the word furious is really accurate. That's probably just what a lot of news sites are using, but they're probably concerned and they're requesting maybe some storyline directional changes. They've requested more adult-oriented content, which I think the fans will immediately mistake for TV-14 or Attitude Era, when that's not really what it means. I think they want maybe more adult-oriented storylines or something, maybe things that are a little bit more believable, where, back in the day, they really pushed the boundaries and the limits of sex, and that sort of thing. So I think it's two different things. Return to the Attitude Era. We don't want that, because that was a little bit of nonsense too. It's romanticized as the greatest era ever, and it was awesome, and I lived through it, but it's not really something you can ever return to. So USA, I think, just probably wants WWE, as we see it now. Like, when you see these storylines, they're stupid. Half the shit they come up with is just dumb. And you don't have any real issues that build, organically and stuff. And I think a lot of reason for that was what I talked about earlier, is like the gimmick pay-per-views and stuff, because you can't have, two guys just put on a trajectory for superstardom and then clash. You can do that on the upper level, the mid card, and the bottom. You can do that for everybody, if you want to, but there's so much content to produce every week. Everybody's paths cross, way too quick. And you can't like build anything or create any anticipation. And I think a lot of that is because of, number one, the booking, how much fresh new content there is every week in WWE, but also the gimmick pay-per-views, I think, are a problem. And if you want like an early solution, oh, by the way, there must have been a troll in here disliking the video 20 times. So you guys hit me with a thumbs up for me, please. There's no way I got 22 enemies in here. But yeah, help me out. Try to balance those out for me. But I think something that they can do, at least in the short term, because another thing fans have to realize, that you just 8 weeks from now, you can't have triple the ratings and everything's back to glory days. Like, it's a long process of trying to, kind of turn the corner and having a different, coming up with different ideas and being brave enough to actually change your booking philosophy a little bit. A lot of that has to do with Vince McMahon, and I think it all has to do with Vince McMahon. But in the short term, something that I think they can do that helps like the booking process would be to eliminate these gimmick pay-per-views. How long have I been talking about this? I've talked about eliminating gimmick pay-per-views since the first day I started on YouTube back in 2010. I've always found them to be ridiculous, because they don't make any sense. The matches are all great. TLC matches are fun. War Games matches are fun. Hell in a Cell matches are fun. Chamber matches can be fun. Ladder matches can be fun. All that stuff. But the problem is, when you put them on the calendar, they get in the way of like storylines being able to grow and build organically or naturally, because then you have to worry about, oh, we got an angle here, but we got Hell in the Cell coming up 2 months. We got to put the pedal to the metal. We have to have one of these guys threaten the other guy's family just to get the heat involved enough to put that match in Hell in the Cell in 8 weeks, instead of just letting it grow. Because back in the day, we actually saw kind of a recent example of this with Jay and Roman Reigns. I think Uso and Roman was supposed to be a one-shot deal at Clash of Champions, but it went so well they continued it into the next pay-per-view. You would do that back in the day too. Sometimes you would see how things were going. You would come up with new ideas as you went along. And it was great when you could have a Hell in the Cell match at Judgment Day, or a TLC match at SummerSlam, or an Elimination Chamber match at Survivor Series. Remember? Now, Chamber might be a tricky deal now. We have 2 champions, and one of them is determined in the Royal Rumble, so you might have no choice but to leave Chamber where it is. Fair enough. I can live with that. But all the other ones, I feel, and Money in the Bank too. Maybe leave Money in the Bank and Elimination Chamber. I'll even give WWE 2. That's how generous I am. They can have 2 of these fucking things if they want. But I think the biggest ones that cause the biggest problems is, number 1, Hell in the Cell, and also TLC. TLC, the matches tomorrow are going to be good. Card is good. Talent is good. Matches will be fine, but the building and the issues and, and everything, the personal issues and the investment and the emotional, ride that you get taken on in certain storylines. None of that shit is here really at all. Maybe a little bit with Randy Orton and The Fiend, but not even really. So the gimmick pay-per-views cause a huge problem. And I think, now this is me talking, I'm not speaking for all fans here, but another thing that really drives me crazy, and that for memory organizational purposes, I just wish was a little bit more simplified, and that was the pay-per-view themselves. The pay-per-views themselves not only ditch the gimmick pay-per-views, but all these pay-per-views that change their names every fucking year. We did Great Balls of Fire a couple of years ago. Why? Why are we doing Great Balls of Fire? Like, who the fuck came up with that? That's so stupid. What I would rather have is I know this can be boring. Vince would hate this idea, but I really miss the days where the pay-per-views were the same every month. They were the same names, and no gimmick pay-per-views, like I said, except for Money in the Bank and maybe Elimination Chamber, and maybe you can add a King of the Ring, something like that. But they usually were the same, and then you can add these specialty matches to them whenever the feud or storylines called for it. And I think another big issue is not doing 2 pay-per-views between WrestleMania. That is so stupid. You just need one, if anything. Like back in the day, you had No Way Out. You had the February in Your House that morphed into No Way Out. That's all you really need. It then morphed into the Chamber, and then we had Fastlane and all that dumb shit. Get rid of those. 12 pay-per-views a year maximum is all you need. Royal Rumble in January. Elimination Chamber or No Way Out, one or the other, in February. Nothing wherever WrestleMania falls. If it falls in April, then nothing in March. If it falls in March, then whatever. So you go Rumble, EC, or No Way Out. Then you do WrestleMania. Then you do Backlash in April. Then you do Judgment Day in May. Then you do Money in the Bank or King of the Ring in July. Then you do Money in the Bank and King of the Ring or King of the Ring in June. Then do one or the other in July. Then SummerSlam in August. Unforgiven in September. No Mercy in October. Survivor Series in November. And Armageddon or whatever the hell else you want in December. Bad Blood could be thrown in there somewhere. Some like cool pay-per-view name that we all miss and that we all loved and that has a history, and just keep them the same. It would be so easy, so much easier for me to organize it in my mind that way. Oh, remember Unforgiven, 2013? That was a great show. Because I can organize the big fives a little bit better in my head when it comes to, remembering results and shit. But these pay-per-views now are so jumbled, and sometimes they're 2 weeks apart. Sometimes they're 1 week apart. That's absurd. That is completely absurd. You can't build anything. Was it SummerSlam? Wasn't it SummerSlam where we had the Raw after SummerSlam was a post pay-per-view Raw and a go-home show at the same time? That can't happen. WWE already is as disorganized as fuck in their with their storylines. Now you're going to book yourselves into 2 back-to-back pay-per-views, one of which coming after your Big 5 show. It's crazy. Like, everything is just, it's too jumbled. Like, they have to get some organization here. They have to settle down. They have to just chill out on the fucking content, man, and stop doing shit that's unnecessary. You know what? I don't give a rat's ass about the Slammy Awards next Wednesday. It's going to be on Facebook or YouTube or something like that. And I don't give a shit. It's going to be done in the Thunderdome, and it's going to be stupid. It's going to be a waste of time. If you're not going to bring it back like you did in the 80s and 90s, then do not bring it back. I think they push themselves too hard. They try to get too much stuff done, and a lot of stuff, like the creative, is what winds up suffering due to the pace and everything of the business. So there's no way there's no right answer to saying, okay, how do we fix the ratings? But I think there's a lot of little things you can do that could at least help with your booking. That way, if you are going to have a complete stark raving lunatic like Vince McMahon that's in charge, that'll just axe shit at the drop of a hat or get pissed off or change his mind about something, if you still have to deal with that insanity, at least you don't have something extra like all these stupid pay-per-views getting in your way of logical booking. That's the problem. These pay-per-views get in the way a lot of times of what would normally make sense, to where you either have to rush it or whatever. Sometimes you put 2 guys in the Hell in the Cell that didn't even have an issue prior to 2 weeks ahead of this, so there's just no build to that or anything like that. So I just think that needs to be completely changed, rethought out, and revamped. And at least from a gimmick pay-per-view perspective, get rid of that shit. That way you can add these matches when they're necessary. If you got a guy like Sami Zayn, like they did, he was out with the Intercontinental title, he came back, they did a ladder match, like they did at WrestleMania 10, but then sometimes you see, didn't we see a ladder match at Hell in the Cell or something like that? Then it gets all just mixed up in which way. So I just think then you're going to have gimmick matches inside of gimmick match pay-per-views. that are different gimmicks than what the pay-per-view is. See what I mean? It's just too much. It's just all over the place, and I think a lot of that needs to be a little bit organized and just settled. But WWE has done absolutely nothing since their big speech in 2018 to, number one, listen to the fans, or number two, try to build stars and book storylines and angles with any sort of logic whatsoever. Everything, it's just, they don't have the same motivations anymore. I don't even think they care so much to create stars, because now they don't need to strap the company to anybody's back. You know, when you did, that's why Hogan and Austin were so fucking over, you know, because they put everything into those guys, because they kept the company going. I mean, they single-handedly were carrying the company. Now, if you have a situation like that, first of all, I don't think WWE wants that. They never want to rely on one star again. And it's to the point now where no matter who gets hurt or who leaves, WWE will probably pretty much just keep rolling with the same ratings they've had. Even the best thing in the company right now, best angle, best character in the company right now, obviously, I think many people would agree, is Roman Reigns. Roman is doing great work. His character is awesome. The head of the table, tribal chief, godfather type of character is great. I love that. Let's say he, I don't want to talk about his illness or anything, but let's just say something happened. He was off TV tomorrow and gone for a year. That would suck, you know, but WWE wouldn't have to worry about folding or going under, where Austin, you know, had that pile driver at SummerSlam 97 gone just a little bit differently, we might not be sitting here talking about any sort of WWE pay-per-view right now. So I think that WWE has put themselves in a position where they're never going to rely on anybody again, but that doesn't mean that huge megastars can't be made. You know, if you just try, if you just care, if you just listen to the audience, you know, think about how many people that the audience would love to cheer for. Last night on SmackDown, Otis beat Shinsuke Nakamura clean. You know, that would be like me turning on a Wrestling Challenge in 1988 and watching Bushwhacker Luke beat Ricky Steamboat right there clean, right there on TV. I'm like, that's a weird decision. So, you know, I would have not known what to make of that as a kid. I would have been like, what the fuck are they doing? You know, so I think this we're going to listen to the fans shit is bullshit. And WWE needs to give people a chance. I think every time they have tried to push someone that the fans scream for, they've either stopped it or bad shit has happened. You know, Daniel Bryan was really the big one, where they were like, they're going to set the building on fire if we don't put the belt on this guy. And then Daniel Bryan got hurt, which sucks, you know, but other guys like Cesaro, who everybody wanted, then they made a Paul Heyman guy and nothing really happened. And then they dropped it and never gave him another chance. They just, he just doesn't have it or whatever. And he's been useless ever since. There are so many people in WWE that I think the fans, all of you in here and myself included, would be more than willing to fully get behind, provided, you know, they're put into situations that has, you know, some sort of interest at all to it. You know, either somebody we want to see, they're up against a good villain. Good babyfaces needs a good villain to work against. Make the storylines less cheesy, less stupid, less predictable, less rinse and repeat, less redundant. Because everything they do right now, we've seen. As good as the Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns shit is, that promo last night on SmackDown, how many times have we seen that exact same promo? Babyface in the ring, mad at the heel, calling him out. Heel won't come out. The heel or the heel's manager appears on the Tron. They talk shit, and then they say, you better come out here. I'm going to come back there and find you. And of course they don't. Then they go back in the backstage area, and the camera follows them around as they look for the heel. Like, don't we see that every other week on one of the other shows? Like, it's the same shit every time. You know, you can always tell when somebody's going to get attacked backstage. You know, you can always tell this stuff. You can just see it. And I think they basically have a template now, you know, where they just plug shit in, you know, like option A, you know, two one-on-one matches and the winners face next week. Option B, two triple threat matches. The winner gets the number one contender shot. You know, they just plug these guys into all these different scenarios that we see, and then they just jumble up. Nothing is unique. Nothing's different. Nothing's like, oh, that's a new idea, or we haven't seen that one before. Oh, that's a funny take, you know, or whatever. We just don't get any of that anymore. Even when the talent is good, the promos are good, and the matches are good, the storyline build around them is usually the weakest part now. And it used to not be that in the Attitude Era. WWE's talent was not that great in early 1998. Hell, even Edge and Christian and Hardys and guys like that hadn't gotten on the map yet. The Dudley Boys weren't there. You know, Jericho wasn't there. You know, The Rock was still green to an extent, but They were destroying WCW, who had the better talent roster, because of the characters, because of the storylines. You got behind people, even the new people coming in, like Kane. You know, within the first month of Kane being there, he was over like Rover. You know, Edge and Christian was kind of the same thing, even though it took them a little bit longer. They were able to build these new characters, these new stars, and put them into situations that was interesting. You know, you had Austin on top. You had The Rock bubbling as a super charismatic character on the side that you knew. Again, you know, him and Austin were put on that trajectory together. You had a character like The Undertaker with the Ministry and his brother Kane. And you had all sorts of, you had the comedy angles on the show. I'm sorry if I'm bumping the mic. You had the comedy angles on the show. It was really well-rounded in story and creativity, where the matches in the ring weren't any better, really. Maybe some of the main events were, you know, but over on Nitro, you know, you could have Malenko and Jericho, or Malenko and Mysterio killing it in the middle of the ring, you know, but over on Raw, you've got The Undertaker lighting a fucking ring crew guy on fire. You know, which one are you going to watch? So I think WWE just did better with less back then. Now they got all the talent in the world, and they put this talent roster in 1998 along with Austin, Taker, and Rock, and Triple H maybe, and put all these guys in there with them. Imagine the angles, the matches, the shit you could do. And the fact that WWE can't figure it out and can't say, okay, like I said earlier, you can't book like you did in the 80s and 90s, but you can book like you should in the 2000s and just in the 2020s, and this just is not it. It's just every fucking week is just a headache. It's a goddamn headache. And usually the pay-per-views are good. That's a testament to the talent. I bet you tomorrow I'm going to come up here and say, damn, these matches were good. You know, but it's not going to make me, I'm not going to be salivating at the mouth ready to tune into Raw the next night. Where back in the day, the Attitude Era, after a pay-per-view, I could not wait for Raw. I don't give a fuck. As good as TLC is tomorrow, even if it's the best pay-per-view of the year, I'm not going to even say, oh, I can't wait to tune into Raw. Should be really, really good. It probably won't be, you know? So the talent is good. They're going to put on good matches. I'm sure Drew and AJ and Roman and Kevin are going to kill themselves out there, and Randy Orton and The Fiend are going to set something on fire. But how much is that really going to do, you know, to spark your Raw rating when the next night you just go right back into your same old fucking nonsense that you do? Even if you do a return, Charlotte shows up tomorrow, wins the tag team titles with Asuka. Okay, great. You know, fans don't like her anyway. So that also worries me, that sometimes what WWE thinks is going to fix things. Because prior to Roman Reigns being this character, they thought Roman was the answer. They had Roman come out on NXT, didn't they? Or make an appearance somewhere or whatever. So, you know, they might start doing that. They might bring the tribal chief to Raw. And he might say, from now on, I don't want to be the tribal chief of SmackDown or my own family. I want to be the tribal chief of, you know, the whole company. Maybe Roman, that might be overkill. I'd like to get you guys' opinion. I'm going to answer these super chats in a minute. Here's a question for you. Would this be overkill? I think 90% of you are going to say yes. You know how Kenny Omega is belt collecting on AEW right now? What if Roman really wanted to be the tribal chief? And, you know, WWE says, all right, the ratings suck. Let's bring him to Raw and confront Drew and do another match and have Roman, or maybe send him to NXT first and have him beat Balor. Beat somebody before Cross gets the title, please. Have Roman go to NXT, win the title, then come back to Raw and win the title, and he's got all three belts. Now I'm the real tribal chief. That would probably be too much. But, you know, WWE might start doing crazy shit in response to these ratings that in the end might give you a quick, you know, 1 week boost, but might do more damage long term. That's another thing we have to worry about. You know, is that WWE, when they tend to panic, they don't make good decisions. Most people don't. You know, when you're in a panic state, you're not thinking clearly. And WWE could do something that in the short term boosts the ratings a bit, you know, for the next 2 weeks, but then in the long term fucked up any long-term plans that they really could have, you know, planned for or shot for down the road. I think little things like that can backfire on them, and basically I don't trust them. So part of me, like I said, is happy that they hit this low, because at least it's going to have them take notice. At least the network's going to make them take notice, and at least they're going to attempt to do some changes. But it's how they change is what's worrying me, because if 2 years ago was any indication, and those four fucking morons came out there and told us that, oh, everything's going to be better now. You, the audience, are in charge. Suck my dick. No, we're not. We're in charge. Do we look fucking stupid to you? That might be a trick question, but we're not. Like, come on. And that's the type of shit they try to throw at us. Oh, we're going to listen to you. And they try to just, you know, massage our balls a little bit. I'm like, we see through that shit, you know, and nothing changed. Nothing changed at all. Then very next week, same shit. I don't even remember what happened after that. I remember just not being any more interested prior to that promo than after. The only time that's really worked was 1997, Vince McMahon. They were getting their asses kicked by WCW. He did that little studio promo on Raw where he thought the fans were tired of having their intelligence insulted and they're going to do more risque storylines. And, the superhero that took their vitamins and said their prayers is passe, all that shit. They made a conscious effort to say, that doesn't work, so let's do this. It might be time to make that decision again. Not that same decision, not going into the Attitude Era stuff, but make a drastic change like that to your overall storytelling philosophy that's completely different than what it was. It has worked before, but specifically, what those changes could be, I don't know. I'm just Greg. I'm just a bald, sexy man on YouTube. What the fuck do I know, So, I don't know. It's a mess. That's why I kind of wanted to dedicate this podcast to more just shooting the shit and just freestyling here because, this is not good. I remember haven't I been saying for a while, like, oh, if they moved AEW to Mondays or to Dynamite to Mondays, I'm not stupid. I know they're not going to beat Raw, but they're going to put a hell of a fucking dent in their rating. And if Raw is only drawing 1.5s right now, and then Dynamite goes to head to head with them, they're going to drop under 1 million. They'll probably still beat Dynamite, but that 1.5, might dwindle down to a 900,000 or 1.1 to AEW's 700,000 or 800,000 or something like that. I mean, it would not be an ass whooping. It will not be the whooping that WWE put on TNA all those years ago. It will not be the same. WWE will still win, but because another thing WWE will do is just start jacking up Raws and just making them crazy, and in the end, squashing AEW. So I don't want to see that happen either. But when you look at AEW's numbers compared to WWE's numbers, it's not far off, man. So that's alarming for WWE. And I hope they're shitting their pants. They should be. Fucking assholes, man. But if they move Dynamite over there, that definitely would put a hurting. But that AEW can't do that. Just stay on Wednesdays. It's fine. But imagine if they were. I think the wrestling business might get at least temporarily better because, Raw would then turn back into the A show because now, well, they already are, but they turn really into the A show. They'd probably move Roman over there, probably move Heyman over there. Every big angle would take place on Raw. That's what they would do to combat AEW. And guess what? It'll probably work and they'll probably beat them in the ratings. But I don't want it to get to that. I don't want WWE to get better at the expense of AEW for AEW moving Dynamite to Monday and then Raw and then WWE saying, okay, we're going to make Raw great now. And then in the process, that actually hurts and kills AEW. It's kind of what happened to TNA. So I don't want to see that happen to them. I don't think they need to move days or anything like that. It's just frustrating to know that if WWE really, really wanted to, if their backs were up against the wall and they were, somebody was breathing down their neck, they have the ability and the talent there to really do it if they wanted to. They just don't. What a mess. First step, get rid of Vince. So I don't know if they're going to get rid of Vince, but he is the big, reason there. I mean, the buck stops with him at the end of the day. I don't think he's really ever going to step aside. And I've said for years, even once he leaves, you're still going to have the production is still going to be quite the same. You're still going to have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown and stuff. So you're going to have no choice but to do 50-50 booking, do a ton of rematches and do shit like that. But, all I want is a little bit more thought put in. I don't know how many WWE writers WWE currently employs. It's probably a couple of dozen. I don't know. I don't understand why none of these people can do anything long-term. Fuck COVID or not, WWE has not been capable of any long-term booking for well over 15, 20 years or something like that. It's been a long time, since they've really done things in a way that the fans can watch and get invested in and look forward to tuning in next week. That's the big, that's the number one thing that every TV show wants, regardless of what form of entertainment you're in. You want the audience to leave the show wanting more. We want less after we are done watching Raw and SmackDown. We don't want more. So until they can fix shit like that and actually get the fans back interested again, I think they're going to be dealing with ratings in this area for quite some time if they don't do anything to improve. So we'll see. Watching them attempt to improve and watch them probably fall flat on their fucking faces is going to be quite comical at times, I'm sure, but also quite frustrating. And I don't blame the fans for being pissed off right now. I don't blame them. They have every right to be. This is nonsense. And WWE just doesn't seem to care. And, fans, they always want to pinpoint. They always need somebody to blame. I always see fire Bruce Pritchard hashtags. I just laugh my ass off about that. I'm like, you guys idiots. Is firing Bruce Pritchard going to do anything to save anything or fix anything? No, it's not going to do jack shit. I know, he's a yes man. I know that's all popular shit to say. And he probably is, but fine. Let's fire Bruce Pritchard tomorrow. No more Bruce. You're going to get the same shitty goddamn show you would have got with Bruce here. It doesn't matter. I think the one main person, if there is going to be one internal change that's big enough to make a difference, it's only Vince. Vince's right-hand men, top writers, Bischoff, Heyman, Bruce, Stephanie, whoever the fuck is in charge, it does not matter. It just doesn't matter. Firing those people fixes dick. What you got to do is get Vince's final say, Vince's idea, Vince's universe and his bubble that he lives in, get that line of thinking out of there and start just using a little bit more logic. Vince is so much, all the shit about his showmanship and all that kind of stuff. I think he looks at the wrong stuff. He focuses on the wrong shit, or he just gets a stick up his ass one day and decides that this is going to be a major issue to him. We heard the thing about last week about where we sent a bunch of the big guys down to work on their ring work and their work rate and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? You got so many other problems right now. Keith Lee being able to work in the ring is the least of your problems. The very, very least, way, way, way down at the bottom. It's just stupid, the shit that he focuses on and the stuff and the decisions he makes and when he changes his mind and things like that, I think really trip people up. But you got to remember, WWE is a big company. Not only is Vince there, he's got a whole bunch of people there too that think like him too. You see the interview with Mike Chioda this week that he did, where he talked about WWE has actually rehired people in the past just to fuck with him and get revenge on him for something that they did or said. That's how petty this fucking company is, that they actually will spend money and waste time doing that type of stuff. So, when it comes to Vince, he's got a whole bunch of people there that think like him. Management, we've heard stories from wrestlers who do shoot interviews and stuff and say some of the dickhead members of management that they had to run into, being talked down to and, and patronized and all that shit, which it's crazy. So you're still going to have those people there. Don't forget Stephanie is one of those people. Stephanie's a lot like her dad, in terms of, she thinks she knows, what should be done. And at least Vince has, a ton more experience than Stephanie, but he's clueless to the times, and he's clueless to anything outside his WWE bubble. And I think a lot of that has always been a problem for WWE. Even back in the Attitude Era, it was a problem for WWE. With them not bringing in certain guys, it took forever to convince Vince just to bring in Mick Foley, and look what he wound up doing for the company. So Vince has shown time and time again that he has zero eye for talent, and he's fucking clueless to anything outside of his world, and that's dangerous. And it's a dangerous philosophy, I think, to have when you have ratings this low and you have this amount of unhappy fans. You got disgruntled talent. You're taking away their side hustles and their third-party deals and taking money out of their pocket. Then you're treating them like shit, not using them properly on TV, and then all the while claiming that they are so lucky to be with you. You should sign over your Twitch accounts because you're lucky to be at this shit show of a company. That's what they think. They think everybody should aspire and to want to work there. That should be their dream, when it should be anything but. The stories that we hear about way people are treated. If you really love professional wrestling, yes, you want to make money, but if you love wrestling and you love the art and you want to, hone your craft and work for years and years to develop your ring work, your personality, your character, and then you get to WWE and all those years of hard work are just torn up, put in the toilet, taken a shit on, and flushed. You're ours now. You're going to do the things we want you to, and you're going to do things this way, wrestle this way, speak this way. This is your name now, by the way, and shit like that. And it's fucked up, man. It's like some sort of weird, it's like a funny prison. It's like you make good money. You're still a celebrity to an extent. All right. Are we back? I'm typing that. All right, if you guys can hear me. All right, we're back. Cool. All right, sorry about that. My internet went out, but it does this sometimes. I just waited for it to reconnect itself, and it did. All right, sorry about that. Are we all still here? All right, I think we're good. Oh, now it says I'm on. Now I'm red light again. Hold on. Please hold. All right, now it looks like we're good. Just watching. Hold on. Please hold. Sorry. Please stand by. I think we're good. All right. I'm going to keep talking. I think the internet's back up. All my lights are green. Doesn't say I'm disconnected and nothing like that. So somebody say something in the chat. I'll wait till a few chats come in to make sure we are up and running here. I think we are. Anyway, sorry about that. Black Frost Music is fine with Vince. I see him being in charge of WWE till 2024, 2025. He's only 75 years old, and he's always been in amazing shape. He's finally starting to look his age. But in terms of, how long he can do it, I guess just as long as his brain functions. But, WWE, he's going to really have to love his company to want to step down. He's really going to have to sacrifice, that pride, I guess, just to say, let somebody else who, quite frankly, might know a little bit more than me run this shit right now. I think it would be a good idea, but that's going to take a lot from Vince. All right, good. We're all back. I just hit the refresh on my page. Yeah, sorry about that. My internet here, it does tend to go down every now and then, but it only goes out for like 10 seconds, goes right back up. But it's never really happened to me during a stream before. So anyway, I apologize for the little delay there, but we're back up and ready. Oh, shit. But the chat, I can't see back to the chat. Let me see if I can get another one up here. There we go. I'm about to say I just refreshed the page and now I can't see the past super chats, but I can see them over here. All right, cool. Let me knock these out, and then we're going to get into, after this, just a little bit of AEW and NXT because they're setting up both of their year-end shows. A little bit on the ratings there. We've got, I think, about 3 matches probably down for New Year's Evil. SmackDown last night, we'll mention like 2 things about, and then I'll predict the TLC card. And then I'll be probably rolling out of here. I got the one from Domination Warrior. I got the one from Chris DA30. I think that's where I left off at the $1.99. Thank you, man. Ruthless Aggression Era is the best ever. A lot of my listeners and a lot of my audience feel the same way. They are big fans of the Ruthless Aggression Era. For me personally, by the time I got to it, I was kind of over. I felt like the changes were happening. Rock was gone. Austin was gone. But looking back now, from 2020 eyes, looking back on the Ruthless Aggression Era, it was great. For me at the time, I didn't appreciate it. And I've talked about that before. I didn't appreciate WrestleMania 21, but I do now as I look back and say, God damn, there were some good matches and some great talent on that card. I think I was just so missing of, the glory days of those 98, or 97 through 2001 or 2002 years there, that I was kind of like bummed, but the product was still really good and there was a lot of good talent there. That's when we saw Eddie get on the map and shit like that. So that was a great time. Antoine, thanks, brother. Good to see you back. And thanks for the $10. A lot of fans, especially on Twitter, cry and whine when they do try to build a long-term storyline. Example, Daniel Bryan. It's give and take. I told you my thoughts on Twitter. Yeah, you kind of said somewhere the same thing. Well, yeah, that's the problem with the fans. I try not to listen to them all the time because they are just going to complain even when shit is good. But I just kind of want a little bit of just logic and everything. It's going to take some time to build another character or another character that people even come close to giving a shit about as much as they did Austin or Rock or something like that. But in the meantime, as long as the storylines don't insult our intelligence, that's one of the big things Vince said in that promo back in the day, is that they thought the audience was tired of having their intelligence insulted. We are. And it's being insulted on a fucking weekly basis. I understand some things are meant to be tongue-in-cheek, and some things are meant to be silly, but it's done to such a ridiculous degree, the whole thing is just stupid. And it insults our intelligence. This shit is for 5-year-olds. It is. And I'm almost 40 years older than 5-year-olds, and I shouldn't be watching this. Barry, what's up, dude? And thanks for reminding me about the super chats too. Thanks for the $2. TNA once had a tables match within a cage. Oh, well, that's TNA. I can see them doing that. WWE put a steel cage inside of a Hell in a Cell. Wrestling companies are going to try shit. WCW stacked 3 cages on top of each other. So yeah, I don't mind them like trying a weird thing or something, but as long as TNA didn't make a tables cage match a pay-per-view concept, then I'm fine with it. Thank you, Clofic C, for the super chat. You got 2 of them rolling in. Appreciate it, man. Hey, Greg, love your show. I've got 2 questions. First, do you think Vince kept Taker's farewell at Survivor Series simple because he has something big planned for Mania, in hopes of in the hopes of Rona will be over? Probably not. I think no. I think the Survivor Series had to happen because it was the 30th anniversary. That was the biggest thing. Like, that fell on the date. It was like, it wasn't a celebration of his 30th anniversary. It was his 30th anniversary. But due to COVID, they had no choice but to really keep it simple. But I do think they could have done better, because to have all of those friends of his, Savio Vega and the BSK guys and Kevin Nash and Sean and all those guys coming out to the ring to stand there and leave, instead of just doing a little bit more of a ceremony for him, maybe a little bit something closer to what they did for Ric Flair, even in the Thunderdome, I think it would have been okay. But Taker just came out there and did what we've seen him do many times, just cut a promo and leave, and that was it. And it was a huge letdown. The only thing I think Vince might have planned for Undertaker for WrestleMania would be the Hall of Fame, which I've advocated hard for the Undertaker to be a one-man class this year, because we haven't put in 2020's class yet. So I say you combine them, you take 2020's class last year, induct all of them, and then the main event of the Hall of Fame will be the sole class member of 2021, the Undertaker, and he goes in the Hall of Fame. Aside from the Hall of Fame, I think that was probably it, which is a shame, but COVID, man. COVID ruined it. And your other question there, you ask, in an ideal brand split, would you rather split the brands along the lines of PG and MA? Never thought about that. Or between flippy stuff and old school wrestling, a la the greatest match ever. Thanks and happy holidays. Well, happy holidays to you too. I don't think I would do the flippy and old school. I don't think that would be good. I think you want to have a variety. Wrestling is all about variety. So I think you definitely want that. PG and TV MA, I'm not saying that couldn't. I've never really thought about it. My instinct is to say no on that as well. But shit, why not? But I mean, is there really even an audience for either? I mean, at this point, basically wrestling sucks in general. I don't think the TV rating would matter at all. That might have been something that might have been better in like the Attitude Era, and actually they kind of did have that. They had like Raw AM and stuff where they would show like an hour-long version, a syndicated version of Raw on various channels where all of like the gratuitous stuff was taken out. You could have, a kid version of WWE, I suppose, as Toys R Us and Kids R Us. You could have, an adult wrestling show and a wrestling show maybe geared towards kids no older than age like 12 or something. I don't know if that sounds right coming out, but maybe it's an idea that could potentially work. I don't know. But again, you're talking about doing that. That's going to take a tremendous amount of organization that I don't think WWE has. I don't think they have the ability to put all that together. They can't even fucking get their own shit figured out on their regular TV shows. So now if you're splitting up not only your brands, but your concepts, your TV ratings, and your style of wrestling, and then trying to juggle all that, I don't trust them. They'd have to have a strong plan in place. And like I said, Vince would have to step aside from something. He'd definitely have to put people, I know they've tried this many times, but somebody would actually have to be in charge of Raw. Somebody would actually have to be in charge of SmackDown, and somebody would actually have to be in charge of NXT. And then maybe you get Vince as the main guy that makes the final decision, or whatever. But, I think you have to have people that write those shows. And I just don't know if that's something WWE would be capable of doing internally, but that's interesting. That could be a good video idea. I don't know if that would work or not. Never really thought about it. Chris Miner, appreciate the $5, dude. USA will never do it, but what would it take for them to put Raw back to 2 hours? It's not the biggest fix, but it'll help if the show was tighter. Yeah, I don't know. It's all about just advertising and money, and plus USA Network, that big contract they signed, that they made with WWE, and that deal was for 3 hours. So that would have to be altered. Money would have to be changed. I think going back to 2 hours is a great idea. I always have, but I just think they probably won't because of bottom line and profits and money. But in terms of, not putting the fans to sleep every week, a 2-hour show would do a much better job of doing that, because you wouldn't have time for bullshit. With a 3-hour show, you got time for bullshit. You can have these stupid, long, drawn-out replays. Sometimes they just rehash and replay an entire promo from the week before, and you can do a lot of needless backstage segments that you don't even need. Last week on Raw, who was it? Keith Lee approached somebody and flipped a coin. Oh, I think he approached Miz and Morrison and flipped a coin. And the whole thing made no sense. He didn't say why he flipped the coin. He said, I got this coin, but don't worry about where I got it. what did that even mean? It didn't lead to anything in the ring. It wasn't a two-headed coin, and maybe it was. And even if it was, why even shoot that? Basically, is what I'm saying. And there's so much time to waste, which bores and puts us to sleep. So with 2 hours, it's more condensed. All your angles and your storylines are being dealt with. Runs a little bit faster, but a lot less money. So that's something that WWE won't do. But what would it take for them to do it? I don't know. I don't know if lower ratings if that would be a reason for them to go back to 2 hours. I mean, it might be. I'd be fine with it. Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes to get them down to 2 hours, I'm cool with. Yeah, and because what time? See, now I'm on the West Coast, so I don't really pay attention. But yeah, now Raw starts at 8 o'clock, right? I missed the 9 o'clock time slot. I miss being on the East Coast in general just for watching shit like that. I have to watch Raw at 5 o'clock. Raw would be coming on right now for me if this was Monday. But yeah, back in the day, you'd watch it from 9 to 11. I loved that shit, man, back in the day. Especially at the end of the show, and it was a big angle, and you got Jim Ross signing his off, big brawl in the ring or a new champion crowned, and what's going to happen this Sunday? And they fade to black with the watermark and all that shit. You just don't get those. You don't get those feels anymore with the product now at all. So yeah, I think it would take a lot for USA to do that. I think that caught me up on the super dupers. All right, let's get into some of the other orders of business. Can you guys keep smashing the thumbs up button for me since we had a troll come in here and hit the dislike 25 times? Yeah, well, that's the thing is the money comes from different places now. So the fact that WWE is most profitable, it's just because of the crazy TV contracts and the Saudi Arabia deals and everything else they fucking do. So it's crazy. Yeah, and TV14, well, yeah, you're right, Shell Shock. I mean, if they went to TV14, it would be like needlessly raunchy, but you can have TV14 and not do raunchy. You don't have to go back to treating the women like sex objects. You don't have to put, Charlotte and Asuka in a bikini contest. That's not really what TV14 means. That's a part of it. But I think you could also do another way of getting TV14 done is just to do more adult-oriented storylines. But even when they do that, they're still going to be done in WWE's way. Remember they tried to do it? They dropped it, of course, like they dropped fucking everything. They brought out Liv Morgan to be Lana's like lesbian lover. And they kind of teased shit like that too with Sonya and Mandy. And I was like, they should do like a lesbian storyline. Back in 2003, they would have treated it as a joke. And Jerry Lawler been, oh my God, lesbians, yay, cat fight, or what, shit like that. But now they can treat it as an actual thing, that's a real relationship between two people, just like would do with a man and a woman in an angle on a roster who are together. You have conflicts, you have tag team matches, you have feuds and angles and all that, like with the Garganos. But just do it with somebody else. And then eventually you can have the conflict and the breakup and the match and all that, but do it in such a way that doesn't come off like cheesy and just come off like WWE, like everything they fucking do. If they can actually do it and maybe take a few notes from some of the more popular TV shows that are out there. I don't know now, but that's what they did. Vince McMahon, I've talked about this promo 3 times in this podcast already. In 97, when he did that interview when he did that promo saying they were going to change direction, he mentioned King of the Hill, Seinfeld. He mentioned TV shows like that. We're going to borrow concepts from South Park and King of the Hill and all that. Well, maybe South Park wasn't out yet. Yeah, it was. So things like that, they should do that again. Look around out there, because I don't know. I'm an old man now, so I don't fucking know. But look out there. What's popular? What's this Mandarin orange salad that everybody's talking about on the Disney Channel? Whatever that shit is, look around out there to what's popular and borrow, take ideas, do something in the spirit of that or whatever, and just look at what they do and maybe try to put a little bit of that on TV. I don't know. They're the ones that are going out there hiring TV writers, but none of this stuff looks, no matter which writers they bring in, nothing really looks any different because it all just falls into that WWE pattern every time. It just falls into it. So it would just take a lot. We're so fucked, aren't we, as fans? My God. Anyway, that's enough about the bitching about the ratings. That's all this podcast has been about here. Let's just quickly touch on Wednesday night. The ratings were down for both. AEW went down. They drew almost 1 million last week. They were down to 806,000 to NXT's 766,000. So a big drop by AEW there. They slaughtered NXT the week before, and this is a much closer week and a much closer ratings win for AEW. We have Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix set for the Holiday Bash, which is cool. Kenny Omega and Joey Janela had a pretty fun and entertaining match, too, on Dynamite, which was cool. And I believe both those matches, weren't they supposed to be in the tournament, and they never happened? So that's kind of cool that they did that. And big congratulations to Cody Rhodes and Brandy, who are pregnant with their first kid. Brandy is pregnant now, and right when she threw the water in Shaq's face and got her ass kicked by Jade Cargill, she'll probably now be mostly, maybe not off TV, but she ain't gonna be doing anything physical. So congrats to them. I'm happy for them. The kid's gonna be fucking cute. I guarantee it. So congrats to the new parents here. Eventually, a lot of people, Mox and Renee and Seth has had his kid, and now Cody and Brandy. Good for them, man. Very happy for them, and good luck to Brandy. But overall, I thought AEW was kind of a weaker, more mediocre show. I wasn't that into it. I was only a kind of eyeballing it. I was a little bit checked out, and I think the ratings kind of reflected that. And they had a pretty good show the week before with a really good rating, and Sting has recently returned. But, I felt like a lot of that just had faded a little bit here on Wednesday night. Not my favorite Dynamite. NXT, I think, was a bit better because they set the stage a little bit for New Year's Evil. But again, I only watched 2 matches in their entirety, and that was Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne, which is awesome. O'Reilly won, and now will face Finn Balor at New Year's Evil for the title. So that's a rematch from the pay-per-view where they both got hurt. And Toni Storm defeated Rhea Ripley with a lot of help from Big Mammy Cool. I didn't know she was calling herself that. I love Raquel Gonzalez. So Toni Storm got a little bit of help there from Raquel to help her beat Rhea Ripley, which means now I guess we're going to go into Rhea and Raquel again at New Year's Evil, and I think that's probably what they need to do before Raquel gets the title shot against Io Shirai. She probably needs to beat Rhea because Rhea beat her once already as well. So I think maybe that's what they were doing there. And Karrion Kross came back as well. He came back the week before, but he returned to the ring in a squash against Desmond Troy, fucking him up pretty bad. And he will face Damian Priest at New Year's Evil. So they aren't throwing Kross right into the title match at first, but I would guess we're going to have Balor retain and Kross beat Damian Priest, and that will lead to the match between those two, maybe Royal Rumble weekend or whatever the next takeover is. And maybe you get Kross Demon. It's possible. Who knows? And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing we're going to get Rhea and Raquel before Raquel gets a title shot, although I suppose they could give it to her there on New Year's Eve. We got a couple of weeks until we get to there. So that's really the only thing I even cared about to mention in terms of the Wednesday night shows this week. I figured we'd kind of skip them and resume all the good stuff next week. In terms of last night's SmackDown, we talked a little bit about it last night. The Kevin Owens stuff and Roman Reigns stuff was very good. That opened and closed the show. Opening promo was good. I'm loving Kevin Owens' fearless attitude towards Roman Reigns. Jey Uso was all involved in this, and the ending segment where Owens got killed, I thought was really good. Roman Reigns is crushing it, man. Absolutely crushing it. So that was all fun. Street Profits did retain over Rude and Ziggler in the tag team match with a handful of tights. I only have 6 matches added for written down for TLC. My instinct makes me think that they're going to add a rematch of this to like the kickoff and give us a 3rd tag team title match on the show, but Street Profits retained. We had the Riot Squad beating Billy Kay and Tamina, so Billy is getting this revolving door of tag team partners every week. That's stupid. The champagne toast with Carmella was super stupid, which I really hated that because she's bragging about how expensive it is, but it's Corbell and Cook's shit you can buy for $8 at your local Safeway. And the Sammy Awards was a lot of fun, although Big E, as much as I love him, coming out there to steal the Superstar of the Year award, I can't condone that type of behavior, disgusting behavior by Big E, ruining such a prestigious award ceremony. I mean, Sammy combed his hair. He combed his hair. If he's going to take the time to comb his hair, you guys need to show him some respect. So very disappointed in Big E, but I'm sure I will forgive him. And of course, the match of the night, a match that WWE gave to us for free instead of waiting until Wrestle Kingdom. We get Otis defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. Goddamn fucking clean. Kill me. Anyway, so that's what happened on SmackDown. Did they tape Holiday Bash already? Are you guys spoiling shit for us? I didn't see anything about that. Kenny Omega lost the title at the Holiday Bash? What are you talking about? I didn't really read much today. You guys messing with me? Yeah, and that's a good one too there, transferring heat. Starting and stopping storylines is something that they are hugely guilty of, and that all ties into the disorganization. That all ties into them not knowing which way is up. That all ties into them not having their shit together. You know, in any job, you know, if you're in charge of something, or if you're a man, like I'm in restaurants, I'm a restaurant manager. Like I have to be organized. Like I have to have my shit together. I can't just go in and just fucking wing it. You know, and what happens when you do that? Shit goes down. Shit goes bad. Catastrophes happen. Business is lost. You know, you drop the ball. Don't drop the ball. Don't take your eye off the ball. Keep your shit together. That should be the same for any fucking walk of life. And the fact that WWE can't do it is annoying. Yeah, I'm hoping. Good to see you there, Neil. It's been a while. Good to see you back, man. Happy for everybody that's in here. Keep smashing that thumbs up button for me because we had a troll in here earlier. Yeah, Rhea, and I think it just feels like with Raquel helping out on Wednesday, since they already did that match, when did they do it? Was it Halloween Havoc? When did Rhea and Raquel face? They faced one-on-one and Rhea beat her. So I wonder if the fuck that was. Based on Raquel's performance at War Games and how awesome she was, and it feels like they're putting her with Io next, I think that she's got to exercise that demon. So I think part of her getting involved there was to set up Ripley and Raquel, and then Ripley puts her over, and then Raquel gets the title shot. I think that's the way to do it. Or give Raquel the title shot, have her beat Io Shirai, and her first challenger is Rhea Ripley, and she can beat her there. Either of those two scenarios, I think number one makes sense, and number two works for me. So whatever WWE wants to do there, I think is cool. But you could do, but yeah, if you think for New Year's Evil, you probably should have two title matches, right? Yeah, and plus I think Balor will retain over O'Reilly, so putting the belt on Raquel at the beginning of the year and then having her first title match be against Rhea Ripley, I'm cool with that. I really want Ripley to be the champion again one of these days, though. I really like her. I can't believe what they did to her. It was Halloween Havoc. Thank you for that. I still don't know what the hell anybody's talking about Omega losing the title and stuff. So, like I said, I didn't pay much attention this week. Try and read through the rest of these. Okay, I think I got all the comments that I was going to get here. We have to predict TLC, tomorrow night's TLC. And I'm going to double check. I wrote these down this morning. So let's just double check, make sure WWE hasn't added anything. I don't think they have. I only have 6 matches, which means they are going to put something on the kickoff. And they're probably not going to announce that shit until tomorrow or on the actual kickoff. Oh, by the way, we're going to have a match. I'm on WWE's website here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we still have 6 matches. So here's what we got. Raw Tag Team Champions, The New Day, taking on the Hurt Business for the titles. That's going to be the first match we're going to predict. Man, I don't know. I want to see the Hurt Business win the titles. I want to see gold all the way across the Hurt Business faction with Blashley in the middle looking all big and bad with the U.S. title. I really want to see that. I'm skeptical if it will, though, because of a couple other things that might happen on the show, but I'm still going to predict the Hurt Business anyway to win. I think the Hurt Business will win the tag team titles tomorrow at TLC. We also have another tag team title match. This is kind of a big one. Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax defending the Raw or the women's tag team titles against Asuka, and who was supposed to be Lana. But Lana this past Monday was written off of TV for some reason. Nobody really knows why. I don't know if she's injured or what, but this whole long build, again, somebody just brought it up in the chat, this start and stop shit. They've spent all this time putting Lana through tables, making her look weak and inferior, and giving her confidence issues, and having Asuka kind of act as a mentor, only for her to achieve and reach, some greatness here. Even a Survivor Series, you could tell the writing was on the wall there that she was going to be the sole survivor. Everybody and their grandmother could see that happening, and then it did. And now it leads up to this big title match. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if my math is right, I think Asuka and Lana scored 4 consecutive victories over those two on TV, like 2 tag team matches and then 2 singles matches. All of them were wins. So what I assumed was going to happen here is that Asuka and Lana, an alliance that I'm not really a fan of to begin with, they're going to fall short in their attempt to win the tag team titles. Nia and Shayna will retain, and then Nia and Shayna, I think, will go on to potentially face the next challengers, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. I know it's a strange combination, but I think WWE might try to want to get them over based on what we saw last week. But now Lana's been written out. Asuka's got a mystery partner. Ratings are in the shitter. We've seen social media posts from Charlotte working out. She looks ready. She looks good to go. She looks awesome. And a lot of people are assuming that she's going to be the one coming in here to team up with Asuka and beat Nia and Shayna Baszler for the titles. I mean, is that something WWE fans or WWE thinks that fans are going to enjoy seeing? I like Charlotte. I will defend Charlotte until the end of the earth. I think fans who hate Charlotte are idiots, plain and simple. But I do know that sometimes too much Charlotte can be too much, and you don't want you read that story about, you know, what happened at last year's WrestleMania with, you know, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte and how the Raw creative team clashed with the NXT creative team. That's the type of shit that pisses you off. You know, Charlotte herself as a worker and her legacy is fantastic. She's good and I like her. But I think when WWE crams her, much like Roman Reigns, down the fans' throats, that's where you can run into problems. And bringing her back, I think tomorrow is going to feel like WWE's answer to these ratings. And that might piss the fans off even more. Now, on the other side of that coin, that's a hell of a team. Asuka and Charlotte, tag team champions. Holy shit. And if you do that, does that put them now on a course for WrestleMania? Because I feel like unless you bring up a Rhea Ripley or somebody else from NXT, Asuka has no challengers on Raw. The only person for her at this point that makes any sort of sense for WrestleMania would be Charlotte, or maybe a last-minute Becky Lynch who gets her shit straightened up enough to get in the ring in 4 months. I don't know. But she has no challengers, so it feels like it's got to be Charlotte. So if it turns out to be Charlotte, you can put the tag belts on them for a while. Nia and Shayna can go their separate ways. And then Asuka and Charlotte can maybe dominate for a while before you start having that friction in the inevitable match. Maybe they could even do what Shawn and John Cena did in 2007, face each other for the title while they were tag team champions. That could also happen. So do you guys think it'll be Charlotte? If it's not Charlotte, who is it? Because anybody aside from Charlotte or an NXT person, I would assume is going to be somewhat of a letdown here. And maybe Asuka could just still bring out Lana. Maybe this is just a way to show Lana's toughness. She got injured, not medically cleared, but then she recovers, or she's convinces the doctors to let her wrestle or something like that, just to show how much she wants it or something. But I don't know. I don't think it'll be Rhea Ripley. It just doesn't feel right, and I suppose it could be somebody random from NXT as well, but Io Shirai would be cool to see, but again, what kind of sense would that make to have her come in and win the tag team titles with Asuka? Although it's a tri-branded championship, so that wouldn't be horrible. I actually wouldn't hate to see that. Now that I say it out loud and think about it, I'm like, well, the tag titles are supposed to be defended on all three brands. We've never seen the tag team champions be from different brands before. How would that work? Is that allowed? I'm sure WWE will make it allowed, but the tag team champions, there is nothing in the rules, I don't think, that says they have to be on the same brand. So if you throw them together one week in a fluke and then they win, they're champions, but they're on different brands, but they kind of have to stay together for the sake of the belts. Maybe. So I guess I'm going to go Charlotte or Io Shirai would be the two likely ones there. But I had picked Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax to retain. That was with Lana. So here's where I'm going to do the cop out and be a little pussy again. If it's Lana, Nia and Shayna retain. If it's anybody other than Lana, Asuka and whoever that person is wins the tag team titles. So if it's Asuka and Io, I think they're new champs. If it's Asuka and Charlotte, I think they're new champs. And if you have any other ideas of who the partner could be for Asuka, hit me with it. Tessa Blanchard would be cool, but I say no. Kairi Sane would be cool, but I think no. Kairi Sane would be really cool. That would be cool. How did she get knocked out again? Who put her down? Was it Bailey or was it Nia Jax or something? Is there a storyline thing to wrap up here? There is, right? It was Nia. That's right. She got her ass kicked backstage, and she's screaming for Asuka. I think it was maybe Sasha and Bailey had something to do with that. So maybe, I don't know, that wouldn't work. But it would be full circle to see her come back and reform the Kabukis. That would be cool. Tessa, I'd have a hard time seeing. I just don't think, because Tessa's somebody that has been in WWE where they can't say, oh my God, it's Tessa Blanchard or what, it wouldn't feel like a huge shock. It wouldn't get that AJ at the Rumble pop, when he came. Plus there's no pop to get. There's no fucking fans there. So I say no on that one. But yeah, Io or Charlotte, I say, will probably be her partner. We also have the SmackDown Women's title on the line. Sasha Banks defending against Carmella. We've seen a lot of this shit on TV, this build. I don't give a rat's ass about Carmella. I'm sorry, Carmella, nothing against you or your weird-ass boyfriend and his weird hair and his weird pants. But I just don't like you. So I don't want you to win the title. I know fans think WWE's mad at Snoop for appearing in AEW, but if they were to sacrifice the time, investment, and money that they have put into Sasha Banks and her character and this whole storyline going on with Bayley for the past 2 years, only to just tear it all down because they're mad at Snoop, seems quite stupid. So, and plus with the ratings problems they're having right now, putting the belt on Carmella is not the answer. So I'm going Sasha Banks to retain. Randy Orton versus The Fiend. This is now deemed a Firefly Inferno match. Was that made on Monday and I was just asleep in my head? I have no recollection of that stipulation at all prior to right now. So maybe that was made earlier this week. Maybe that was made in reaction to what Randy Orton did on Monday by setting the box on fire and all of that. I don't know what a Firefly Inferno match is. I don't know if this is going to be cinematic. I don't know if this is going to be an actual Inferno match around the ring or what. And I don't know how you win. I don't know how you achieve victory. Since it's a Firefly Inferno match, my instinct tells me you do not have to be pinned to lose here, which opens up the Fiend for a loss, but also opens up the Fiend for a victory, especially with like Alexa Bliss. We haven't seen Little Miss Bliss around since the Randy Orton thing. So how she doesn't make an appearance here, I don't know. I feel like she absolutely has to. And showing up here in some form, maybe not to cost Randy Orton the match or anything like that, but, maybe just spook him out enough to allow the Fiend to put the claw on him or lock him in the box and light it on fire, whatever you have to do. Something tells me, obviously Inferno, fire's involved. So maybe you got to throw somebody in a box, light the box on fire, and that's how you win, whatever. So I don't think you have to be pinned. If anybody knows the rules to this nonsense, let me know. But I'm going to go with the Fiend. I think the Fiend should win this match. I think either guy now, because it's a goofy-ass stipulation, either guy could kind of afford the loss. The Fiend could technically lose and just come back. Undertaker used to lose all the time, got buried alive, and, and got all sorts of shit, and he'd always rise from the dead. So the Fiend can do that too. It's no different. But I kind of want to see him beat Randy Orton. So I'm going to root for and predict the Fiend to win the Firefly Inferno match. We've got Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against AJ Styles. Drew McIntyre 100%. As a matter of fact, tomorrow night after TLC, actually probably tomorrow before TLC, probably midnight tonight, the Drew McIntyre, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Broken Skull Sessions drops on the network. That's going to be a really good listen. I'm actually looking really forward to watching that. So based on, Drew's not going to drop that belt. He's not going to drop the belt at all until WrestleMania, but he's certainly not going to drop it 2 hours before his fucking his podcast with Austin drops. So he's going to retain the title easily over AJ Styles. Well, maybe not easily, but he'll retain. You know what I mean? And finally, what I guess will probably be the main event, Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Kevin Owens. I think Owens is going to put on a hell of a performance here. I think he's going to stand toe-to-toe with Roman. I think he's going to take Roman to the limit. I think he's going to be as fearless as Roman is and as ruthless as Roman is, but in the end, he will not be as tough as Roman is. And I think Roman will beat him and retain the Universal title. TLC match, are they both TLC matches, right? Which means you have to climb ladders and shit? How do I not know this? Part of me thinks that they're both. I know AJ and Drew is TLC because they were climbing up the ladder and shit on Monday. Is Roman and Owens TLC? Yeah, it is. Okay. So they're both TLC matches. That's awesome. They're both going to be really good. In terms of what we could see on the Drew and AJ side of things, you do have The Miz. Again, WWE is they just had their lowest rating in the history of Monday Night Raw. If the night before your next show, you put the belt on The Miz, no. So that green briefcase is just going to be in The Miz's hands for a while. Do not cash it in. I don't care how crazy it is. Like, if he cashes in and wins the title tomorrow night, who in the fucking world is going to say, I got to tune into Raw and watch this? Only the masochists who want to tune in and bitch about it. But nobody's going to be like, oh, I can't wait to hear The Miz's promo tomorrow. Nobody's going to say that. Nobody wants to see that. So I can't see The Miz cashing in. That would surprise the hell out of me if he did. So he's probably the only wild card in that. Aside from maybe Sheamus. I think Sheamus can get involved too. Maybe Sheamus even does something to help McIntyre keep the title and then bro kick him at the end, signifying that he wants the next title shot or something. Keith Lee is another guy that I feel like is going to wind up turning heel. So he could show up tomorrow, turn heel on Drew, allowing AJ to win the title or something like that. I don't know. He could turn heel after the match, beat the shit out of Drew, allowing The Miz to come in and cash in. Again, none of this I think will happen or I want to see, but that is a wild card. And then in Roman and Owens, I think the only thing you really have to worry about would probably be Jimmy Uso. I think Jay will get involved a lot. But these things are no DQ, so guys can get involved. You know, we can see Sheamus, Keith Lee, and The Miz all get involved, and Morrison for that matter, and Drew and AJ. And I definitely think we'll see Jay, possibly Jimmy, and hopefully Owens can find some friends. Is there anybody that he's friends with that's hurt right now? Sammy ain't going to come out and help him out. Maybe Roman's next opponent will. Maybe Goldberg comes out. That might be all right. Like if you have Roman, he beats Kevin Owens. They have a hellacious match. He beats Kevin Owens with help from not only Jay, but Jimmy as well. And then he's standing there in the ring and Goldberg's music plays and he comes out and he goes, you needed 3 guys to beat this man that I beat in 9 seconds a couple of years ago at Fastlane. Me and you. Universal title. Goldberg, Roman Reigns, Royal Rumble. You know, I'd much rather see Goldberg and Reigns at the Rumble than Goldberg and Reigns at WrestleMania. So, again, you know, from a ratings, but that's SmackDown ratings we're talking about, not Raw. So you can't even pay that off the very next night and help your Raw rating with Goldberg shit because he's going to be doing SmackDown stuff. So I suppose maybe you could see Goldberg there. So those are the only possibilities. Goldberg, Keith Lee, Sheamus, Miz, I think all have the potential to run in those. I think we could see Charlotte return. I think we could see Io Shirai come up and win the titles with Asuka. Or we could see Lana just come back. Come back there. Sasha and Carmella probably won't have any surprises. Fiend and Orton will be crazy. And the fact that this is a Firefly Inferno match now and it's probably going to be totally whack, I guess this makes me a little less annoyed that they gave us Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt a couple of weeks ago on Raw, because I don't think this is going to be a full-blown in-ring match here. So I guess that makes it easier, but I don't know. But just to recap, I'm going Hurt Business over New Day. Whoever Asuka picks as her partner over Nia and Shayna to become new women's tag team champions. Sasha to retain the SmackDown women's title over Carmella. The Fiend to win the Firefly Inferno match. Roman Reigns retains over Owens, and Drew McIntyre retains over Styles. Hurt Business, Asuka and partner. Sasha, Fiend, Roman, Drew. Those are my picks. What do y'all think? Michael Cuomo, good to see you, man, and I appreciate the $1.99. We need babyface Kevin Owens versus heel Sami Zayn. We never got that, huh? I thought we did. I guess we didn't. That could be a next program. I mean, it looks like Big E is kind of in line for the Intercontinental title, but if Sami survives that, I'd like to see Owens. That'd be cool with me. Yeah, and Miz, I mean, do something fun with the Miz. I mean, God, the people he's got to cash in against right now. I mean, the Miz is 2 champions. I mean, he's got Roman and Drew. You know, that's rough. So maybe he shows up in NXT and beats fucking Kyle O'Reilly or Finn Balor. And then Cross kills him. That would be fun. Karrion Kross versus the Miz. Oh my God. That I'd pay to see. That I would tune in to see. That I would set my DVR for. That would be just fun. That would be like watching porn. That would just be great. Where can you find a stream for TLC? WWEnetwork.com. It's totally free. Oh, yeah. Kevin and versus Roman Reigns do a No Way Out 2003 scenario with Goldberg and Lesnar. That's true. That's where they... That was... I'm thinking of wrong. I'm thinking 04. Are you thinking of the one with Eddie? And Goldberg like jumped the railing and speared Brock, and then Eddie beat him. Could be something like that. Could give Owens a cup of coffee with the Universal title again. Doing it that way. Maybe Roman wins it back though, or something like that. Or I don't know. Maybe they do a triple threat. Yeah, I don't know, Shell Shock. I was just saying, I mean, can he cash in on the NXT champ? It doesn't matter if he can or can't. WWE can just change the rules. They can just change the rules. Wild card rule, Superstar Invitational, you know, buttfuck Invitational. They can make up anything they want. So Charlotte went to NXT after the Rumble, right? And won the NXT title. So why can't The Miz do the same thing with the Money in the Bank? I think it's an option. And it'll be a better option for Miz. He's got a little easier load to going against like a Balor or an O'Reilly than a Drew or a Roman. Oh, yeah, that's right. And Isaac, I actually mentioned this last week. I forgot to mention it. Thank you for bringing up Braun Strowman. He was originally written off in that segment with Adam Pearce because I think he was nursing an injury or something, but he could come back. And I think if the initial plan was for him to face face Drew at TLC, then he might face Drew at Royal Rumble. So maybe he comes out at the end of that thing. And again, anybody that comes out at the end and makes it known that they want to be the new challenger, that opens up the door for The Miz. So what might have to be is Strowman coming out there after the match, attacking Drew McIntyre, putting him through a table, and then the Miz tries to run out and cash it in, and Strowman just stands in his way. Nope, he's mine. But again, Strowman's a heel. He shouldn't want to face the Miz instead of Drew. So if Drew, if he puts down Drew, he might stop Miz himself from cashing in. I don't know. But yeah, completely forgot about Strowman. So he's another guy. Add him to the mix. We could see Strowman, Sheamus, definitely Miz and Morrison, and potentially even Keith Lee if they want to do something real saucy. We'll have to see. Okay, so it was 2004. I ain't crazy. That's the same one you're talking about. Yeah, where he hopped the deal. Yeah, they could do that. That would work. But again, with Roman and Drew, I feel like their path is lit. Like WrestleMania has got to be it for them. Like I think both of those guys likely need to hold on to the titles until WrestleMania. I suppose one of them could drop at the Rumble or something if they wanted, but I think WrestleMania is a better spot for both of them. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen with them. So until then, that means they're probably going to survive every title match they have between now and then. So, that's why you got to pick your opponents carefully. Give them good, credible opponents, but, opponents that can afford the loss type of thing. Oh, yeah, Neil, thank you for that. I put up a post the other day on YouTube. They got a ton of responses. I plan on doing a couple of retro Royal Rumble reviews this year. I want to do at least 2 of them in the month of January, so I was asking for advice. I think I've got a couple of them down. I think I'm definitely leaning towards 2002. The ones that are on my list are 2002, 2005. 98 got recommended a lot, but I didn't really want to do 98 because I didn't like 98. But 98 has shown up in the comments enough times that I'm going to consider it. So it's on my list as well. Those are probably the 3 front runners right now, and I want to do probably 2. So I'll be doing a couple of retro Rumble reviews in January. And if you have any other additional suggestions, let me know. I'll go over to that post right now, actually, and take a look at it. I haven't looked at it in a couple days. We got about 50 responses on it. Yeah, a lot of ones for 02. We got one from 1994, 1995, 05, 08, 2010, 2008. I remember 08. That wasn't bad. 04, 2014, and 2015. There's another 98, another 94, another 98, 91, 93, 94. I don't know if I want to go back too far. I might want to do one from the 90s. I've been wanting to do 95 for a while because it was a weird one. This 25th anniversary. No, it's 26 now. Shit. Yeah, 98 I've seen in here now at least 10 times. So I feel like I have to consider 98 because so many people mentioned it. It just wasn't a very star-studded Rumble. It reminded me a lot of 25. The talent roster was thin in early 98, man. There wasn't a lot there. You had to have Mick Foley come out 3 times because you didn't have enough big talent to fill it. You had the Barrique was out there and DOA guys and Ahmed Johnson who could barely walk. And, the only 2 legitimate, Mark Marrow and people like that, the only 2 legitimate contenders to actually win was Austin and Rock. And that was it. They turned out to be the last 2 in there. So there was and plus the whole story was Austin. He was cutting promos weeks before the Rumble. I'm going to toss 29 pieces of trash over the top rope and all that. So you knew it was going to be Steve. It was number 1 predictable. The talent was weak. And there wasn't any really that great moments. The Foley stuff was semi-amusing, but I don't think it was a very good Royal Rumble. But the Royal Rumble match, the Shawn Taker casket match was very good. But of course, that led to tragedy as well because Shawn got injured and was out of the ring for 4 years. It's not one of my favorite Rumbles, to be honest with you, but it got recommended so many times, I might just do it. I'll do it for y'all. That's how nice I am. Thanks for 2 more, Antoine. Appreciate it. Strowman hurt. He out until at least January. Okay, thanks for that. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it was just a ding, maybe nursing an injury, maybe something that he can kind of rehab through or just need a few weeks off. So that's good. I don't want him back. So he can stay gone till January of 2025 for all I fucking care. Thanks for 2 more, Barry. My favorite is Royal Rumble 2002. I liked that one. That was one of the last ones that I found myself really enjoying. So that one's on my list. I think that's very likely I'm going to do that one because that was right after Triple H returned. That was like the return of Mr. Perfect and Goldust in the ring and shit to WWE, which to me was awesome. And there was a lot that I remember about it that I like. I think that's the same Rumble where Hurricane Helms tried to double choke slam Austin and Triple H. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit there too, because I remember in 02, I was very excited about the potential showdown between Austin and Triple H. And I'm pretty sure they went face to face in the Rumble, right? And it was interesting because of how Triple H left the previous May when he tore the quad in the tag match. Him and Austin were the two-man power trip. They were champs. They dropped the belts to Jericho and Benoit, and they never really blew anything off. They never really resolved the issue, and they were both heels. Now they're both baby faces. And so to see them kind of come together like that, I thought was going to be interesting and could lead to something at WrestleMania. But then Hogan came back and changed everything. So that was that one's on my list. I think 02 is likely going to be the one of the two that I do. I'm pretty sure. So I might do 02 and 98 or 02 and 05 or 02 and 08. Just not sure yet. Who won in 2003? Oh, Brock. Yeah, Brock. That one was okay. It's on my list too. I'll probably watch along the Rumble this year in January. '02 was the longest Rumble. Wasn't aware of that. '02 is 02 the one where Maven? Yeah, it is. I think it's the one where Maven eliminated Undertaker. So there's some weird shit that went down in that one. I think '02 is most likely on the list. And that does it for my notes, by the way. I'm just kind of reading chat comments now here too. I appreciate the two small I apologize for the two small technical difficulties we had here today. When I first went live, I haven't even pushed the button yet, and I look at the screen and I'm live, and I had the mic muted, so I unmuted it, and I'm like, I gotta mute the mic, and kind of saw y'all for a minute, and then I went into the intro, and then during the stream here, we lost internet power for about 30 seconds, and it caused a little bit of a delay about 30 minutes ago, but I stopped talking until it came back, so we really didn't miss anything. But thanks for those of you who hung out with us and suffered through all that. We don't often have the technical difficulties on the channel, but when we do, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, I remember that one, Antoine. I watched Royal Rumble 2008. I might have to do that one because Royal Rumble 2008 was the first pay-per-view that I ever watched in HD. I remember, I think that was the first one they offered in high definition. I remember how good it looked. That was the one at the Garden, right? With John Cena coming back and all that. And I remember I had the big, the 50-inch Sony Wega projection TV, 720p with the fucking thing on the back. But, you know, getting that in like HD, and you had to pay, I think, $10 more for it. I thought just looked so good. That was, did Jericho and JBL have a match on that? That kind of rings a bell there. I don't remember any of the other matches, but I remember the Cena return being like a huge surprise. Another rare moment where Cena kind of got half-ass cheered. He was in the Garden. People fucking freaked out when he came out there. I think just more surprised than anything else. Oh, Deshaun, appreciate the $9.99, man, and good to see you. Welcome back. You would recommend Royal Rumble 2009, Cena vs. JBL with Shawn Michaels, World Heavyweight title, Jeff Hardy versus Edge, WWE title with Matt Hardy turning heel, and Orton won the Rumble, kicking Vince on Raw. Oh, yeah. What was Shawn Michaels? Was Shawn Michaels the ref for that? I don't even remember that shit. I kind of remember Hardy and Edge a bit because I talked about Edge once. Edge's match there. That was when Matt turned heel. I know they did Matt and Jeff at WrestleMania that year at 25. That must have been where it kicked off. And then the next night was where Orton kicked Vince. Wow. My memory is so hazy with that stuff. Yeah, I'll have to look at that one. We'll see. I'll put 09 on the list too, man. Oh, but see, you were at the Rumble in 08, so maybe that one would be a better one to do. That's a bucket list thing for me. I really want to go to a show at the Garden. I've never been. If WWE can't hold the Rumble match, why can't they? Is it something to do with like mask? No, they've done battle royals and shit. You can do the Rumble match. I don't know why they wouldn't be able to. But I don't know what I'd do. Yeah, the 07 finish I liked too because it was HBK and Taker, and it was the first time we'd really seen those two guys together in the ring at the same time in God knows how many years, since Shawn came back at least. And it wasn't even to tease like a future match. They just did it. And they didn't even do the match until 2 years later. It was 09 when they had that great match at WrestleMania. So that was like a little teaser. And I don't know, between 07 and 09, I think that was was that the only time they were in the ring? Like with Shawn returned in 02, I don't think they ever came across each other in the ring until that moment in the Rumble. And then I don't think they came across each other again until 2 years later, right? That was another reason that made that match in 09 so cool. What they really hadn't been affiliated and seen each other in so long. Oh, Cena took Finley's spot for the Rumble in 08? I wasn't sure. The pandemic. I don't think the pandemic is going to stop them from having the Rumble match. At first, I was thinking it might be the mass gathering rule, but that won't matter as long as everybody's tested and it comes back negative. You can have as many people as you want, as far as I know. You can have 20 people on a football field, 10 guys on a basketball court, 20 men in a battle royal. I don't think. I think Rumble is going to have to be in the Thunderdome and stuff, but I don't think it's in jeopardy. The match, anyway. Yeah, Michael, I'd love to go back in time and go back in the 80s and go to a MSG show, or even the 90s. 90s would be fun. I'd love to be there the night of the curtain call. I'd love to be front row for that shit. That would be fucking badass. Antoine, appreciate 5 more. You can. It's in Florida. There's no restrictions for people. And I was at 2000 Rumble with Taz first appearance. Yeah, that was 2000. That was Royal Rumble 2000 the year before. I reviewed that last year, I think, or maybe the year before. If you should, Antoine, go to my channel, pay-per-view playlist, pay-per-view review playlist. I've got Royal Rumble 2000 up there. I loved when Taz debuted because we knew it. We all knew it that he was going, and we knew he was going to be Kurt Angle's opponent. And when that shit hit, that crowd went fucking nuts. That would have been a cool show to be at live because the Dudleys and the Hardys tore it up in a tables match in that, and then Cactus and Triple H was fucking phenomenal. You were at a great show, Antoine. That was a great show to be at. Sean had the whole, thanks again for 5 more, Deshaun. Appreciate that, man. Sean had the whole stock market fiasco in the end of 2008 and aligned with JBL to help him win the belt. What? Stock market fiasco? Boy, some of these storylines just evaporate from my memory. Did they do a deal? I can almost guess the way this went. Were they doing a deal where Sean was like financially in trouble and JBL blackmailed him to help him out or something and made Sean do his bidding? Was it something like that? Feels like that's what that would mean. I don't know. Hey, if you're here and watching, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up. I want to try to get to 100 likes before I get out of here, since we had a troll in here hitting me with 24 of them. Barry, appreciate the 2 more from you, man. I'll pay for a Rumble 02 review with Subway food. Subway food. Like food you get at the Subway? Like when you're waiting for the train? No, I know what you mean. At Subway. I had a Subway not long ago. I live right next. I live great sandwich. I had a Jersey Mike's today, but every now and then I will still go into a Subway, even though they're so inferior to the other sandwich shops, especially good local ones and stuff. There's something about it. Every now and then I just have a taste for it. And it was like last week I went and got a Subway. I know, Zane, I'm lost. Can't remember any of this stuff. Oh, so I'm right, Deshaun? I was right about the thing. Yeah, so Sean had problems, right? Yeah, like Sean's got money problems. Give me a break. Yeah, Shawn Michaels in 2007 or 8 has got trouble paying the bills. I don't think so. Yeah, so then JBL agreed to help him or what? Oh my God, so stupid. You must do what I say. Yeah, I don't think, vaccine or no vaccine or anything, I don't think the Rumble match is in jeopardy. I don't think that's really going to be a problem. I think it'll happen. I think it'll go off without a hitch. And hell, they can still do it to where there's no more than 10 people in the ring. You can just book it to where it doesn't fill up. I don't think the match is in jeopardy at all. Oh, so Sean gambled his why did he gamble his 401k away? Do wrestlers even have 401k? Sean gambled his 401k and JBL bailed him out. Why did he gamble his 401k? What's wrong with you, Sean? Why would you do that, dude? You need that. I wouldn't do that with mine. Don't gamble your 401k away, boys and girls. You need to buy a house. No, that's not a great pay-per-view, Ben. I don't think. I think the Royal Rumble, somebody else mentioned 03, but I forgot, Ben, about... Oh, you put minus. Okay, at least so you understand. Triple H and Scott Steiner was so bad. But yeah, the Royal Rumble match itself I think is great, and I guess maybe the pay-per-view overall is great. But I always I remember that Triple H and Scott Steiner match. I was never anti-Steiner. I just didn't really care about him when he came in in 2002. And then Triple H, of course, his ego at the time, he's immediately got a feud with him, and they have to do push-up contests and shit. And then they get in the ring and the blockbuster matches that Triple H is capable of having. He just couldn't have that with Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner wasn't capable at that point in 2003. He looked like shit in there. Scott Steiner's performance against Triple H in that match reminded me a lot of Chronic when they came in and worked with the Brothers of Destruction, and it was so bad they fucking fired both of them. It was kind of like that. It was just horrible, terrible. Oh, you just watched 03? Okay, yeah, I'll give 03 a shot then. I just remember that fucking match was so bad with Scott Steiner. So crappy. Thanks for that 10 more, Antoine. Story time. So my uncle took me to the 2000 Royal Rumble, and we are cheering. He is dead asleep, and that pyro goes off, and he comes out of his skin. He fell asleep in a chair, and then, oh, that's hysterical. That's when Kane had that big explosion before his music dropped. That's great. I have heard the Kane explosion, especially back in the day. I've been ringside for the fireworks. It's hot as hell, or the ring post flames. And that shit is so loud, especially if you don't see it coming. And I've taken some like random friends throughout the years to wrestling shows, took a girlfriend or two to a couple wrestling shows, and I didn't tell them about the Kane thing. And I remember twice I did this. I sat back and I watched their response. Like, I'm like, you hear like the lights go out and that beginning part of Kane's music hits, and then the pyro goes off and they don't know what's coming. And just watching them jump and watching all the other people around the arena who don't know that that's coming. It's fucking loud, man. I miss those days. Yeah, and if you're dozing off or something in your sleep, yeah, that pyro is gonna give you a heart attack. He's lucky he survived. Oh, thank you for that, Neil. I should post that video on Twitter. So today's the 25th anniversary of the Bret and Bulldog match at In Your House 5. That was one of my favorite Bret Hart matches of all time. I absolutely loved it. I didn't realize that today is the anniversary of that. I watched it that night. That was right after Bret won the title. I remember that there was a certain vibe to those 3 months, that November, December of 95 and January of 96. Very specific vibe. I just moved out of my parents' house for the first time. I was 18 and, living my life. It was a crazy time. I remember that very well. It's not, yeah, it doesn't get the credit it deserves, that match. But the 92 match, was always revered because of just the setting of it and the Wembley and the Bulldogs moment and 90,000 people or whatever it was. But that match in Hershey, Pennsylvania was phenomenal. Still trying to get my WrestleMania memories video to 100K. It far exceeded 100K on the original upload of that. I think it had about 300,000 or something like that. But it was only up for a few months and it got taken down because I used footage. So that was a re-upload. So technically it's gotten about probably in all 400,000, views if you count the previous one. So close to 500,000. But yeah, I had to upload do a re-upload like a year later. So views went way down on it. Yeah, Zane, yesterday was Austin's birthday. Weren't you here last night? We were up here drinking beer. I toasted Stone Cold Steve Austin's birthday. We did a fun live stream last night. I opened up WCW cards and drank some Broken Skull IPA. We had a hoot, a blast of a time, and we wished Austin a happy birthday yesterday. And I think I did so on social media as well. Dude is only 56. I think he turned 56. Like, you think about 10 years ago, man, he could have still gotten in the ring, man. He went in the Hall of Fame at age 45. We could have gotten another match, but I've made peace with it. I've made peace with it. Oh, I didn't know Austin was on Pat McAfee's podcast yesterday. I did not know that either. Oh, well, thanks for that. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a fun one to do. I remember making that. I just decided in like, it was 2016. I remember I was living at the beach down here in Del Mar, California. And I had a little studio apartment overlooking. It was right after my separation and stuff. And I was overlooking the ocean. And I had a great spot. And it was like January 10th or something. And I'm like, I think I'm going to review every single WrestleMania. I was like, I think I can do it in like 2 months if I just started putting it together and upload it like right before WrestleMania. And I did bust it out. Like every night I had like a little, like most of the WrestleManias, the early ones I remembered. So I just have to write down some thoughts and, just to create the notes for that. And I would try to, and then I spent like maybe 2 weeks kind of organizing it all, working on the graphics and stuff and making notes. And then I spent maybe about 2 full weeks recording it, like every night after work, just record two WrestleManias, thoughts on that, and then edit it and kind of just put it together piece by piece, bit by bit. And got it done a couple of weeks before WrestleMania, 6.5 hours long. It was fun to make it though. because a lot of that stuff I had forgotten and stuff. So it was kind of and it wasn't a full review of every show. It was just kind of a gloss over, but it still took me 6.5 hours to get it all done. I remember back then I got a whole bunch of tweets. I guess Salamonster had said a bunch of nice words about the show on his podcast or something. He's like, "Oh my God, you should see what Good Mike Work did and made this whole video or whatever." And I remember getting all these tweets. I'm like, "Oh, you got all this praise." And I'm like, "Oh, that was nice." So a lot of people liked the video and it was fun to do. I would really like to find, time to put together like another big project like that. I've always wanted to do another deceased wrestlers one where, it's an 8-hour show, like an 8-hour long video where I just spent a couple of months doing it and putting it all together, and would like to do an undertaking like that again. And I swear it will happen, but I also have a life to live. It's hard. Where are the card packs, Zane? Oh, they're up here. These WCW cards. Yeah, I ain't put them in the mail. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just ordered last night some little padded mailers from Amazon, so they'll be here in a few days. And I'm going to the post office sometime before the end of the year. Yeah, so these WCW packs last night are what I opened up. I got to send Zane G one in the mail. I'm gonna send out a few more. I just got to figure out a way how to do a giveaway on those, maybe tomorrow night or Monday. So they're worthless, but if you want one, there's 4 to give away. I got to send one to Zane and Devlin, and then I got 4 more that I can send out. But if you want to see what's in there and what's in those packs, go look at last night's video. It was a lot of fun doing that last night. Oh yeah, the SummerSlam Memories one. Yeah, that was back in the early days. That was prior to me having my shit together. That was prior to me even having a microphone. Just real basic back then, but it was fun. It was fun cutting my teeth, learning how to do this stuff, and figuring out this YouTube shit. I think I got it figured out now. But anyway, all right. Well, we are just about at the 2-hour mark here of this podcast. We kind of just been shooting the shit for the most part. So if there's anything else you guys want to discuss, we'll do that now. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here and take it easy, and then I will be back tomorrow night right after TLC. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the show, and hopefully we'll have a decent Raw this Monday. Zane, I know you mean that as a compliment, but that's funny the way it's worded. Yeah, I listen to your videos all the time. They help me go to sleep. Thanks. I know what you mean, though. I know you mean it in a nice way. That's a good one, too. Transferring Heat, my favorite year in wrestling. Break down the cards and angles, etc. Boy, it'd be really hard to pinpoint a year, man. I think have I done a video favorite years? I think I have, or at least in a Q&A or something. I think my favorite year was either 97 or 98. 87 would be up there. 2001 or in 2000 might be up there too. Yeah. 97 might be the most interesting year to chronicle because WWE went through so many changes. At the beginning of the year, they were still the 1-hour taped show, getting their asses handed to them by Nitro. About a month later, Titantron debuts. Raw's 2 hours and it's live. Austin and Brett get on the map with their great feud. The great summertime angle between the United States and Canada. It's one of the hottest things they've ever done. Going into the fall, Brett being asked to leave, Brian Pillman dying, Kane debuting, screw job happening, DX. There's so much to cover in 1997 that a full year-long review or retrospective would be an excellent idea. And that's probably the year I'd pick is 97. Just so much to talk about. And plus I remember all of it. All of it. I remember every single minute of 1997 because I watched it hard back then. All right, somebody hook me up with a like so I can get out of here. We got 99. Oh shit, now we got 98. Get me up to 100 likes and I'm bailing out. There we go. We're there now. Hey, Spaz, perfect timing, man. I was just about to bounce out of here. I thank you for the 5. Hey, Greg, man, hope the season is treating you well. Hope the chat are as well. It's typical self-plug implied. Yes, please, of course, go subscribe to Spaz Phoenix's channel. He does good work over there. And we had a great little afternoon here. It was kind of a random, a little different podcast than normal. We did a lot of just speculating, talking, ranting, complaining about WWE and their ratings and what they can do to fix that. Touched a little bit on the Wednesday night shows, talked about Holiday Bash, talked about New Year's Evil, and predicted the entire TLC card for tomorrow. So it's been a fun afternoon here on the podcast. Yeah, I think I did talk about that. Yeah, the summer of 98 was another really fun time. I think I just slightly more preferred the summer of 97 just because of the Hart Foundation and Canada USA angle. But 98 was great too. 98 was just hot. It had this electricity, this feel to it. Kicked off with the King of the Ring, Mankind fucking Peter Panning off the top of the Hell in the Cell, and then Austin and Taker and Highway to Hell and SummerSlam at Madison Square Garden and everything going around then, and the Monday Night Raws and how hot they were and how jacked they were and the crowd and everything, and just click, 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 click. I mean, they were just hitting home runs left and right. DX, Nation, Austin, Taker, Kane, everything going on there was over. Everything. It was an awesome time, but I felt that 97 summer in a different way though. So I'm always going to buy on that one. That's funny, Michael, because I was such a Bret Hart mark. Even when Bret was a heel, that storyline made me hate the United States. It did. Like, my loyalty was more with Bret than it was to the United States. I'm like, yeah, fuck this place. That's literally the way I was back then. I was such a Bret mark. I'm like, this place is stupid. I'm moving to Canada, but I would never do that because the weather sucks. But I was the opposite. It didn't make me hate Canada. It made me hate the United States. It made me hate my own damn home. That's how much of effect Bret had on me. He was I was drinking his pink Kool-Aid, that's for sure. Thanks for 5 more, Spaz. Love to hear a speculation video on the wrestling landscape if there were no brand-to-brand crossover barriers for the talent. So you mean where talent where they can cross brands anywhere? Because I could do both. You could also do one to where you do a brand split and you're not allowed to go anywhere and you just let shit form on those shows and then, figure out a way to do matches in the future. But yeah, I don't know, man. That would be a fun. We definitely could pull a whole video out of that because there'd be so much to consider, for that much availability being available on all shows and how that then affects, some of the lower card talent. Will, people's growths be stunted because of that? Or is that just the best way to do it? Because back in the day they did, back in the height of the Attitude Era, everybody was on Raw and SmackDown and shit, and it seemed to work just fine. So, could be a topic. Could be a topic for Coffee Talk with Greg Richmond. Can AEW afford Brock Lesnar? Probably. If Brock wanted to go there, I'm sure Tony Khan, that's some money that Tony Khan would want to talk Daddy into giving him. Yo, Dad, can I buy Brock Lesnar? Please. Please. I'll mow the lawn for a week. I'll do the dishes every night for the whole month if you just let me buy Brock Lesnar. I can see him getting it. Because I'm curious about Brock now when he comes back. He's got Roman there. Roman's a little more... now feels just as intimidating as Brock always did, and that's now a fun potential future match to watch Roman be the aggressor now. Imagine we've seen Brock and Roman so many times, so a lot of fans instinctively was like, I want to see that again. Yeah, yes, you would. You would want to see it like this. They could actually do a role. The polls could reverse with Roman and Brock. Brock could almost come off as the babyface, and Roman could be, the shit-talking aggressor, intimidating guy, now he's holding all the cards against Brock. It might be a fun change, and just to see how that dynamic works out to where Brock might actually have to be somewhat fearful of Roman. He wouldn't show that, like Roman didn't show his fear for Brock, when they were feuding, but, Roman was overmatched, and now maybe Brock could play that role as the underdog. That could be interesting just to see how that looked. I wouldn't be against it. Oh, I got you, Spaz. No barriers there. Yeah, that would take an awful lot of cooperation. I would say it would probably be a fail because back when when Vince and WWE was wiping everybody out, the last remaining territories attempted that a couple of times. Did not work out. Couldn't get along. Promoters couldn't decide who wanted to go over. They all wanted their guys to go over. Too many title belts, too many egos, too many stars, all that stuff, too much stuff involved. I think it would be difficult. I think a good watermark or a measuring stick for that would be what we see out of AEW and Impact and how that works out and if it works or not. And so far, so good, but, who knows? So maybe that could be that could be a good example of how it could work in the future. I don't know. But anyway, all right, I think I've exhausted my last super chat. We went a good solid 2 hours here. And I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. It was a fun afternoon. Don't forget, immediately after TLC, join us tomorrow night right here on YouTube. We'll be live. I will have the link posted to that in just a few minutes. I'll stick it up here in just a little while. So the link will be up there for that. I probably won't bother putting this podcast. Yes, I will. I'll put the audio up on the websites tonight as well. And then after this, you've got me for 2 more days. So keep a lookout and